guys, I'm Eric.
And I'm Grace. We're the Wandering Ravens.
And today we're talking about nudity, violence, terrible puns, and all the other differences between British and American TV. But first, a quick introduction. We're an American couple with the goal of moving to Europe by the end of 2021. So subscribe to follow along, get weekly British culture content, and to see where we end up when this year winds down. So what are we going to be talking about today?
So today we are going to be comparing the differences between British and American TV shows.
For people who don't normally watch a lot of TV, we watched a lot of shows this year. Well, 2020, because of quarantine, staying inside, all of that. British TV binge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Give us a perfect excuse to indulge our lazy sides.
Also, the fact that we make British culture content, so it was like, part of this is entertainment, but half of it is research too, so we didn't feel too guilty about watching a lot of TV. To help you know where the observations in this video are coming from, some of the British shows that we've dabbled in include Fawlty Towers, Blackadder, Peep Show, The League of Gentlemen, The Office, The IT Crowd, Still Game, Monty Python, Only Fools and Horses, The Windsors, The Crown, Dairy Girls, Friday Night Dinner, Bake Off, 8 out of 10 Cats, QI, The Peaky Blinders, and of course, The Queen's Christmas Speech.
We also watched a fair amount of American TV shows in 2020, including The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, How I Met Your Mother, Arrested Development, Parks and Rec, The Dick Van Dyke Show, I Love Lucy, The Americans, The Boys, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Family Guy, and a single episode of True Detective.
It's been really fun to watch a combination of British and American shows and analyze the differences between the two. Because if you know us, you know that we were sitting there watching Still Game with notebook in hand, taking notes on British culture while we were doing it. So today we're going to be talking about all of these brilliant and colorful differences that we noticed, starting with
common tropes. So I think an exclusively American trope would be homecoming and prom.
Oh, yeah.
These are things that are very common in American TV, but of course non-existent in British TV.
And then of course with that whole party culture in American TV, you're gonna have the red cups thing, which we didn't even realize that was a trope because they're so ubiquitous in American culture. But as you guys have commented on a lot of videos, apparently the red Solo cups are a uniquely American trope. Yeah, I grew up drinking out of those cups. Yeah.
You grew up drinking out of those cups?
Well, there wasn't always alcohol in them.
Another common American trope is idealized or satirized middle-class families.
Oh, that's a really good one, because in almost every American sitcom, comedy, drama, they really center around middle-class people. Another American trope that kind of goes hand in hand with that idealized or satirized middle-class trope is suburban culture, because the suburbs in America are where most middle-class people live. When you think of Family Guy too, a lot of those cartoons, they're always based in the suburbs.
Yeah, like in a neighborhood, suburban neighborhood.
Suburbia. Another American trope would be that socially awkward character or grumpy character or the one that's always angry who has a heart of gold. They're genuine.
I'm okay with this.
So kind of like in Arrested Development, they're all toxic characters, but they do genuinely care about each other and they have touching moments. Now let's hop across the pond. UK, British TV tropes. What are some things that you've noticed?
Ooh. Well, one that comes to mind right off the bat is just roast dinners. In America, we don't talk about having a roast dinner quite that often. Like never, only for Thanksgiving. But in British TV, they'll often refer to a roast dinner they had or a roast dinner they're going to make or, just roast dinners. That's a common thing that is discussed.
Are you a naval man, Derek?
No, James. I'm more of a leg man myself.
In similar step with that, I think we have pub culture, which is another trope in British TV that we don't really have an equivalent for here in the States. Like we do have the going to the bar.
Yeah.
Like How I Met Your Mother, they go to the bar a lot. But it's not quite the same thing as going to the pub in the UK. Another big trope in British comedy TV is pedo jokes.
I mean, I love kids, but not in a bad way, in a nice way. I mean, I'm not on the child protection register. Yet. Which proves I'm not a pedo.
Oh yeah, okay, so I feel that certain things are unacceptable to joke about in America, or at least highly frowned upon by many people. So I don't think that American comedy could get away with that genre of humor.
This is going horribly. Need a joke. Either that or I'm an incredibly hard to detect pedo.
Another trope that we've noticed in British TV is going for a curry or ordering a curry.
Fancy.
Chicken boner, lamb boner, prawn boner, mushroom rice, bag of chips, keema naan, and 9 poppadom.
I don't know, just the way they talk about eating curry is different in British television as opposed to like American TV. It's not as common of an ethnic food over here in the States, I want to say.
4 none, Jeremy. 4? That's insane.
I find the whole trope conversation super fascinating, so if you guys have any additional tropes to add, whether it be American TV or British TV, please drop those down in the comments because this is a really entertaining topic. Moving on though, the next thing we wanted to talk about is plot lines, how the plot develops in British TV and American TV.
In America, the bog standard sort of plot line for most TV series goes something like this. You have a character, they have a goal. Something arises to prevent them from meeting this goal. They overcome this opposition and the series or episode ends with them achieving their goal and everything's happy and rainbows and roses and joy and kisses forever and ever. Amen.
And just you repeat that 20 times per season. Meanwhile, across the pond, the standard plot in British shows goes like this. The protagonist has a goal, something happens to derail that plan, to which the protagonist responds by shooting themselves in the foot, sticking that foot in their mouth, and then the episode ends with them significantly worse off than when it began. And I feel like this happens in almost all of British TV. Train wreck after
It
train
is.
wreck.
Everything that could go wrong does go wrong. Like
Yeah.
the one time Mark is trying to become a tour guide or whatnot, and then Jeremy goes on and on to his boss or his potential boss about having a wanking disease.
Yeah.
It's a disease, a wanking disease. I done the downloading, and then I done a wank.
Yeah, Peep Show is a really great example. One of our favorite British shows ever. That is such a great show. But every single episode follows this exact plot line where Mark and Jeremy end off significantly worse than when they begin the episode.
Other examples of this common plotline include Faulty Towers, Dairy Girls, Blackadder, Only Fools and Horses, etc., etc., etc.
This difference in plotline is actually something that really shocked us the first time we encountered it. Dairy Girls was one of the first British TV shows we ever watched, and I remember in one episode, the girls are really excited because they want to go to Paris, but problem, they don't have any money. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so much fun. We're gonna see them raise money, overcome this obstacle, and this episode's gonna end in Paris, which is great because I love Paris.
And we were in Paris at the time.
Yeah. So imagine our surprise when that episode just continued to go downhill until it culminated at the end of the episode with them literally catching a house on fire and definitely not going to Paris. That was a big shock.
It was.
Yeah.
Everything just devolved very steadily into total chaos.
Next up, let's talk about the jokes.
That is typical.
Right, and to start this section off, I want to talk about stereotypes because there's definitely stereotypes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they're there for a reason. There is some amount of truth to stereotypes.
And I think, yeah, there is some truth to the stereotype that British comedies are about making you laugh at the main characters, whereas American sitcoms and stuff are about getting you to laugh along with the main characters as they tell witty and incredible jokes.
Another true stereotype is that, on the whole, British jokes tend to be on the darker side, much more dark humored than American jokes. But now let's transition out of stereotypes and look a little bit at repetition. And this is something we've noticed a lot in British TV, is a lot of repetition. So running jokes are often repeated throughout an episode or even an entire series over and over and over again.
Yeah, so yeah, that is a difference between British and American TV, where in American TV, we do have running gags and callbacks where, you know, you make a joke and then later in the episode, someone will do a callback to that joke or maybe many episodes later. But a kind of a trope in British TV is where you'll have the same exact gag done over and over and over and over again. I think a really good example is Friday Night Dinner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where in every single episode, the neighbor, Jim, always comes over, shows up at the front door, the family opens the front door, and then there's this really whole awkward exchange with Jim standing there being all weird and confused.
Good dog. Is he? Wilson? Which it was really funny the first, 12 times it happened, but then by season 2, it was getting really old where every single episode features the same exact joke of Jim ringing the doorbell and then awkward exchange.
He always needs something, he always wants to see the mom, he's terrified of his dog, and he doesn't remember which boy is which.
Just repeated ad nauseum. And to continue picking on Friday Night Dinner, other repetitive jokes are how the dad is always taking his shirt off, how the boys call each other piss face and puss face, how they're always trying to put salt in each other's drinks.
Oh yeah.
There's always a family fight.
Oh, always about the females.
Yeah, the female.
The females.
Yeah.
Dad, stop saying females. So yeah, we did not enjoy that aspect of British sitcoms. But something we did enjoy was all of the awkward humor.
Now, I do think American TV does have plenty of awkward moments too, though. You know, Arrested Development, for example. Tobias is commonly creating awkward tension with his Freudian slips about being gay.
There are very few intelligent, attractive, and straight men in this town.
Well, that certainly leaves me out.
And that creates an awkward moment. So I don't think it's like British TV has a monopoly on awkward humor.
Yeah, well, I think that is true that both British and American TV do have awkward humor in them. I think British TV does it in a different way because like in American TV, the awkward humor or tension that's created by awkward humor is instantly released by like a punchline or a joke. It's not extended, it's not drawn out, whereas in British TV, these awkward moments tend to last and just get worse and worse and worse.
That's true. That's making me think of Peep Show because again, frickin' brilliant show. But the episode where his family comes over for Christmas, so many awkward moments.
I notice I'm not saying anything. Still not saying anything?
Yeah, I think that the awkward tension in British TV generally makes you want to like claw your eyeballs out or just curl up in a ball and die, whereas in American TV it's very short-lived and finishes with a laugh.
Yes, that's true. And then I gotta end this section with a callback to one of the most awkward moments I've ever experienced in my life of watching television. Well, that makes it sound like I spent my life watching television. But one of the most awkward moments in TV I've ever seen is the Peep Show episode with the dog.
Not the dog. Not the dog. Shit, the dog.
Mommy!
With Mummy, where Jeremy accidentally kills the dog and then the episode ends with them eating the dog.
What's going on, Jeremy?
Nothing. This is turkey. Look. See? Just undercooked, disgusting turkey.
Oh, I still like it. Just makes me feel terrible inside.
I got chills just from thinking about it,
Man.
and not in a good way.
Moving on from awkward, painful humor, let's talk about sex and nudity.
Ooh!
So, what's the stereotype?
I think the stereotype from an American perspective is that British TV tends to show a lot of sex and nudity. Like we have this idea that just kind of like anything goes on British TV.
Yeah, we don't really know about the watershed. And also, in the UK, I feel like a lot of British people have this stereotype of American TV that it's, kind of devoid of nudity, and that British TV is much more progressive in that way. But after spending 2020 watching British TV and American TV, I think that this is not true. I think it may have been true several decades ago, back during the 80s, when British TV would have been more progressive in that regard. But these days, content being produced right now, they're about the same.
Yeah. I would say they're about the same. I don't think there's, like, it wouldn't stand out to me that there's more nudity in British TV than in American TV.
I think where a country that would actually raise the bar there would be France, where French TV has significantly more nudity than both the UK and the USA at a noticeable degree.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're watching British TV and American TV, it's about, you don't really notice a difference because it's about the same. Similar stereotype is violence, because people always say that American TV is violent, British TV is more nude.
Terrific.
I would disagree with both of those. Like, British TV is extremely violent. Have you guys seen the Peaky Blinders?
Yeah, I think this is also a bit debunked now. Maybe in the past, maybe in the 80s, American TV was a lot more violent, but these days it does feel very similar. on both sides.
Next, let's talk about values and messages. We've noticed that in many American TV shows, there seems to be an underlying message or a set of values that the show is trying to communicate. For example, in How I Met Your Mother, I feel that something they're trying to communicate in the show is the importance of having good friends that you can trust. Similar messages to Parks and Rec. It's like all about your friends and your community.
Yeah, and Arrested Development, even though it's this dysfunctional family, at the end of every episode, it communicates this message that family matters, value your parents, value the relationships you have with your siblings. So even though it's a comedy, these messages are still really strong and being shared.
On the other hand, we haven't really noticed any communication of values in British TV. So like while Friday Night Dinner is about family, I don't feel it's communicating the same thing as like Arrested Development, because all the family does in Friday Night Dinner is fight, and at the end of the episode there's no resolution to any of their disagreements or fights. There's no like, but we're all family and we know that that's all that really matters. It's more just some disaster happens and everyone ends up fighting. Have you noticed any values that British TV is trying to communicate?
I guess if you were to pull a message or value system out of British TV, it would be something along the lines of, everyone's a f*** up, to err is human, we're all ugly, and that's okay. Yes?
Yeah, I guess so. Which I guess is a good message on the whole.
In a different sort of way. Don't feel too bad about when you mess up, because everyone messes up.
And there's always somebody who's more of a f*** up and uglier than you.
That's kind of it. But this is a really interesting topic that I'd love to toss to you guys down in the comment section. When it comes to the values and messages, do you agree with us here, or are there certain values and sentiments in British TV that we're missing out on, maybe because we're not British? We're not able to decipher those clues.
Yeah, those hidden messages.
For example, maybe the message in Friday Night Dinner isn't about family, it's about learning to love your neighbor, Jim. Now let's run through some of the miscellaneous differences that we noticed. For example, palatability across the pond. Basically what I mean is American TV shows are easier for an international audience to understand, whereas British TV shows tend to require British culture and knowledge in order to get the jokes, especially with sitcoms and comedies. And I think the reason for this is that American TV has to appeal to all of America in order to be successful, and so tends to forego a lot of niche or subculture jokes and references, whereas British TV doesn't really have that need to appeal to as many millions of people, and so they can really dive into those really specific subculture jokes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. That's why it was really hard for me to get into any British shows at the beginning, because it requires a certain level of knowledge about British culture in order to understand.
A good example of this is panel shows. How way back when we first started getting into British culture content, we started watching panel shows, but they weren't nearly as funny and we didn't get them because they make so many cultural references. But now, if we're watching 8 out of 10 Cats or QI, they're way more funny because we get the people they're talking about. I've read Private Eye, so I get the joke. Yeah, you know, there's so much context that you need to know in order to get a lot of British comedy.
Are we just stupid in America?
No, I don't think that's what it is. I think it is just that American shows, in order for them to be successful in the US, they have to get rid of those jokes in order to sell.
That's true, because there are things that are specific to Pacific Northwest culture or LA culture or the South, but if they just appealed to that specific audience, you're losing money, man.
Oh, I did just think of an American show that does require specific cultural knowledge and context. So one American show which is similar to British TV in this way is the show Portlandia, which is a show all about the subculture of Portland, Oregon, and the hippie, hipster, crunchy trends and people that live there. People in the Pacific Northwest really enjoy that show because it makes fun of all the stereotypes and the in-jokes and things that we get. But that would never compare with How I Met Your Mother or Arrested Development because it requires very specific cultural knowledge in order to get the jokes.
Another miscellaneous difference that we noticed is in sincerity. So in American TV, sincere, genuine moments are pretty common. I would say like in most sitcoms, there's one genuine moment in each episode. Across the pond, on the other hand, I feel that nearly every genuine moment turns into a piss take. Like,
About piss take.
if you continue watching, it becomes a piss take.
That's a really good observation. So when you're talking about genuine moments, you mean like, for example, Arrested Development. We just watched an episode last night where Michael and his son, they have a nice heart-to-heart where they talk about, you know, what really matters in life. And it's sweet. And there's no joke. It's actually sweet. But in British TV, that situation is always a joke.
Yeah, I cannot recall a single time where a genuine moment didn't turn out to be a joke.
The one example I can think of in British TV where they almost have a genuine moment is at the very end of Peep Show. Last episode, spoiler alert, Jeremy and Mark are sitting in the living room and, you know, it's back to where we started. It's just the two of them in the house and they have this sweet moment and they express these sweet sentiments to each other and how they appreciate each other. And then, of course, it cuts to an inner monologue of Mark saying,
I simply must get rid of him.
and so it becomes a joke.
So all of our observations boil down to this one question. Which is better, American TV or British TV?
Clearly French TV.
Is the best of all.
is the best of all. No, I think it's really subjective and it's impossible to say. Different people can find different things legitimately funny for different reasons.
And that's okay.
That's okay. So maybe a better question is, which do you prefer to watch?
Oh man, for me it just depends on mood, because if I'm in the mood for something that is feel good, lighthearted, if I've just had a really long day of work and I'm tired, usually I will choose to watch an American sitcom, like How I Met Your Mother or Arrested Development or Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec
like,
is
these are all
such a good feel-good show.
Such a good feel-good show.
Yeah.
If, on the other hand, I'm in the mood for something witty, something that will require a little bit of mental exercise, because British humor doesn't come naturally to me. As you can tell, I'm not a Brit. Then I will watch British TV.
I think you're right. If I've had a really hard work day and I'm just mentally exhausted, it's American TV. But if I haven't had that hard of a work day and I feel like laughing my guts out, British TV.
For sure.
Yeah. Don't stop watching yet, because we have some huge questions for you. I wanted to take this opportunity to present you with some questions from Americans about the UK's TV tastes, and hopefully we can get some answers. Do you want to go first?
Where are all of the adult cartoons in the UK? So like here in the US, we have Family Guy, we have American Dad, we have Bob's Burgers, we have Futurama, and all of these are cartoons, but they are geared towards adults. Whereas in the UK, I cannot think of a single cartoon that is made for adults.
Why isn't there an animated version of Peep Show or something like that? And if you know why that doesn't exist, maybe you guys tried it and it just never took off, why doesn't British culture like those sorts of animated shows?
Let us know.
Let us know. Another question. This one could be offensive, I'm sorry, but Bake Off. Let's talk about Bake Off. That was really fun. We watched Bake Off for the first time this year, and one question, huge question I had throughout the whole thing is, why are the comic relief characters, you know, the two guys that walk around and crack jokes, why are they so bloody boring? There are so many incredible comics in the UK, but the comic relief on Bake Off are like, they're the equivalent of having an American dad puttering around the kitchen and cracking puns. And now we're gonna turn the conversation over to you guys. If you have any follow-up thoughts on this video or things that you think we should know about British or American TV, do continue the conversation with us down in the comments. Again, I'm Eric.
And I'm Grace.
We're the Wandering Ravens.
And we'll see you in the next video.
Cheers!